How do I know if I matter? How do you know you matter? That question followed me like a quiet shadow. I know I struggled with it, and if I'm being honest, sometimes I still do. It would creep into my thoughts during the most unexpected moments. When I got a lower grade than expected, when a friend forgot to say goodbye, or when I spoke in a room and felt like no one heard me. It's not always loud, but it lingers. It asks again and again, is who you are enough? Some statements feel like lightning. They shake something inside you. You remember exactly where you were when you heard them. The time, the room, the stillness. But other times, it's a whisper. A sentence that slips by softly, unnoticed at first, but returns to you when you need it the most. It doesn't demand your attention, but it stays, like warmth tucked beneath your ribs. And later, when the noise quiets down, it speaks. This talk is about one of those sentences, but more than that, it's about something deeper. A question many of us carry silently, hidden beneath all the things we try to be. How do I know if I matter? We all want to believe that we have value, but sometimes we don't hear it enough. What if no one teaches us how to see our own worth? What if we only think that we matter when someone else tells us so? We're told, you're enough, or you'll shine one day, but no one ever hands us the tools to see the truth for ourselves. So we try harder. We raise our hands, we volunteer. We smile even when we're tired. We keep asking, with every action, every effort, am I enough now? I studied in China from grade 7 through 8, and somewhere between the textbooks and lesson plans, early mornings and sleepless nights, I met a geography teacher who completely and unexpectedly changed the way that I understood myself. Emma wasn't just a teacher. She was a presence. She was the kind of teacher that made the classroom feel like a safe, steady world of its own. With black curly hair that always looked caught in a breeze of ideas, and round glasses that framed her kind, curious eyes, she brought warmth wherever she went. Her smile, gentle and knowing, put even the most unsure students at ease. She could roll her eyes, say 3 words, and still somehow change your life. There was this electricity about her, not the kind that draws attention, but the kind that wakes something up inside you. I was new, the student from Canada, far from home, far from anything that I knew. And she noticed that. She didn't make me feel like I had to catch up or prove myself. She treated me kindly, making room for me to feel like I belonged. And her classroom became my landing place, not just during class, but after school too. On the days when everything became too confusing, or when I just needed to express myself to someone. We never scheduled it, never planned it. I just drifted into her room, and she'd look up like she'd been expecting me the whole time. Some days, we'd talk for hours. We rated school couples, debated which teachers were definitely on the verge of quitting, complained about higher-ups, and swapped ridiculous theories about who secretly hated each other in staff meetings. It was silly, unserious, and full of laughter. But other days, we sat in silence and just let the space be quiet. There was something sacred about those moments, like the world outside paused long enough for us to be honest. It was a kind of connection that didn't need to be loud to be life-changing. Our conversations weren't about achievements or performance. They were about how it felt to be human. She never tried to fix me. She just listened. And in that space, I slowly started to remember who I was. Not a grade, not a label, but someone becoming. Someone allowed to change and still be whole. And there's something incredibly rare about that, being seen not for who you were expected to be, but for who you are, even in progress. When it was time for me to leave and return to Canada, I told everyone that I was excited. But inside, I was terrified. I wasn't just going back. I was leaving behind the version of myself that finally felt whole. I was afraid I'd forget the confidence that I built in that space, or that the space I'd grown into would shrink the moment I stepped into a different setting. One afternoon, I sat across from Emma and said it out loud. I'm scared. What if I don't fit in back home? What if the version of me that made sense here disappears there? She didn't rush to reassure me. She just looked at me, calm and steady, and said, 好的金子在哪里都会发光. Good gold shines wherever it goes. At first, I didn't get it. It sounded like something off a decorative pillow. She smiled and explained. Gold doesn't shine because of the room it's in. It shines because of what it is. You don't need the perfect setting or the perfect people. If you try, if you care, if you show up, that's your shine. And something in me shifted. I realized I didn't need approval to be valuable. I didn't need to constantly sparkle to be seen. I already mattered. I didn't have to be the loudest or the brightest to have a light that counted. I just had to be true to my essence. There's a concept in philosophy called essentialism. It means everything has a core nature, a truth that doesn't change, even if it gets buried. Gold has that, and so do we. We forget it sometimes, buried underneath comparison and expectation, but it's still there, waiting to be remembered. People often forget. We start to believe our value is something we earn. We think we shine only when someone notices. We think we belong only when we're chosen. But what if our shine has nothing to do with the recognition it gets? What if it comes from who we are, not what we prove? When I returned home, I struggled. I felt out of place. I missed who I had been in that geography classroom. There were days I felt invisible, unsure. Days when I walked the hallways of my school, wondering if I had imagined that more confident, grounded version of myself. I wondered if that self was real or just a reflection of the space Emma had made for me. But in those quiet moments, walking in hallways, brushing my teeth, the drive to school, I'd hear her voice, 好的金子在哪里都会发光. Good gold shines wherever it goes. And I'd try again, not to impress, not to prove, but simply because gold shows up, because showing up is what gold does, even when the room is different, even when no one notices, even when the voice inside you doubts your worth. So when the world feels loud and you start doubting yourself, here's something I've done to reconnect with my value. A reflection exercise. First, what did I do today that no one saw, but I'm proud of? Maybe I listened. Maybe I forgave. Maybe I just kept going. Second, what part of me keeps showing up, even when no one claps? My curiosity, my kindness, my patience? Say it out loud. Write it down. Let it exist. Third, if I stop being this version of myself, what would the world lose? That's your gold. This reflection won't fix everything, but it brings you home to yourself. And sometimes that's enough to take the next step. It anchors you in something deeper, a truth that doesn't rely on attention or applause. It reminds you that your worth isn't something you have to chase. It lives in the quiet, steady parts of who you already are. And the more you name it, the more you feel it. The more you practice seeing it, the more it becomes your lens. So what do I want you to take away from this? You are gold, and no matter what happens, you will always shine. Trust your essence more than your environment. Whether life takes you 12 hours away from home or one step outside your comfort zone, remember, you still shine, not because someone told you to, not because you're performing, but because it is who you are. And gold never forgets how to shine, and neither should you. Thank you.